During World War II, there was a raised bed technique so effective, so dangerously powerful, that a British housewife named Margaret Ellis grew 214 pounds of vegetables in a space where her neighbor, using expensive topsoil and fertilizer, grew only 71 pounds. Same sunlight, same water, same varieties, triple the harvest. By 1944, agricultural advisors were quietly documenting this method across England. Every garden using it consistently tripled output. The secret wasn't exotic materials, it wasn't complicated. It cost absolutely nothing. Raw garbage became fertile soil in weeks. Then the war ended. Within 5 years, the technique vanished from every gardening book in America. Seed catalogs stopped mentioning it. Extension offices pretended it didn't exist. And soil companies spent millions making certain you never learned what Margaret Ellis knew. Because you cannot sell soil to people who build it from trash. You cannot sell compost to families turning kitchen scraps into black gold. You cannot profit from dependency when one simple method creates permanent fertility using materials people throw away. In 1947, a $70 billion soil industry was born. The same corporations selling you bags of dirt today are the ones who buried the proof that you never needed to buy it. Not because the method failed, because it worked too well. But the documentation survived. Margaret Ellis's records, the agricultural surveys, the yield comparisons, all of it sitting in archives. Technically public, but practically invisible. Until now. In this video, we're uncovering the exact layering technique that tripled World War II harvests. The method soil companies spent decades erasing, step by step, layer by layer, the way Margaret Ellis actually did it. And by the end, you'll know exactly how to build soil that outperforms anything money can buy, using nothing but materials you're throwing away right now. If you're new here, we dig up forgotten knowledge that billion-dollar industries have spent decades burying. The survival methods that kept our grandparents alive. The techniques that work when supply chains collapse and store shelves go empty. Subscribe now because this information is too valuable to miss. And share this video because they don't want content like this reaching people. Now let me show you exactly what they buried. Number 1, the cardboard foundation layer. In the spring of 1943, Margaret Ellis stood in front of an empty raised bed frame staring at a problem. She had no money. Topsoil cost more than she could afford. Compost wasn't available for purchase, and her family needed food. She remembered something her grandmother taught her. Nature never buys soil, nature builds it. The first layer was cardboard, not fancy material. Ration boxes, shipping cartons, packaging that arrived with what little could be purchased. Material everyone else burned or threw away. She laid the cardboard flat across the entire bed bottom, overlapping edges by 4 to 6 inches. No gaps, complete coverage. Then she soaked it thoroughly with water until it was completely saturated. Here's what most people don't understand. Cardboard isn't waste. It's carbon structure. As it decomposes, it feeds billions of bacteria and fungi. It blocks weed seeds from germinating. It retains moisture like a sponge. And it slowly transforms into rich, dark humus. But there's something more important happening underground. Earthworms are attracted to decomposing cardboard. They tunnel through it, creating channels for air and water. Their castings, richer than any fertilizer you can buy, accumulate in the cardboard layer. Within 8 weeks, that cardboard had transformed into soil, not similar to soil, actual living earth, teeming with organisms, holding nutrients, supporting plant roots. The British Ministry of Food tracked this. Gardens using cardboard foundation layers showed 63% higher earthworm populations than gardens built on bare ground. Higher earthworm populations meant better drainage, more nutrients, healthier plants. After the war, soil companies needed you to forget this. They needed you buying bags of topsoil to fill raised beds. Thousands of dollars worth. They couldn't let you know that cardboard you're recycling is worth more than the dirt they're selling. Today, regenerative gardeners are remembering. They're laying cardboard, building soil, growing food and earth they created from trash. Because once you understand that waste is wealth, you never buy dirt again. Number 2, the nitrogen bomb layering. Margaret Ellis knew something chemical companies hope you never learn. Soil doesn't need fertilizer. Soil needs food. And the best food comes from your kitchen. After the cardboard foundation, she added 6 inches of autumn leaves. Material she'd collected and stored. Brown, carbon-rich material that would decompose slowly, providing structure and long-term fertility. Then came the critical layer. 2 inches of kitchen scraps, vegetable peelings, eggshells, coffee grounds, tea leaves, everything organic that came out of her kitchen for 2 weeks. This is where the magic happens. Those kitchen scraps are nitrogen bombs. High in nitrogen, they decompose rapidly, generating heat and feeding billions of bacteria. As bacteria multiply, they produce compounds that plants can absorb directly. But she didn't stop there. She added a thin dusting of garden soil, just a handful scattered across the kitchen scraps. That soil introduced decomposer organisms, bacteria and fungi that would break down the organic matter. Then she repeated the pattern. 4 inches of brown material. Grass clippings mixed with shredded newspaper this time. Another dusting of soil, then more kitchen scraps. Layer after layer, building a biological reactor that would feed plants for months. The ratio wasn't random. Military agricultural advisors tested extensively. They determined that approximately 3 parts, brown material to 1 part green material, created optimal decomposition. Too much green and the pile heated excessively, burning plant roots. Too much brown and decomposition stalled. Temperature measurements from wartime test beds showed these layered systems maintaining soil temperatures of 55 to 65 degrees even when air temperature dropped to 35 degrees. That warmth came from decomposition, free heat that extended growing seasons by weeks. The USDA documented Margaret Ellis's bed specifically. By June 1943, 3 months after construction, her soil nitrogen levels measured at 72 parts per million. Her neighbor's purchased topsoil, heavily fertilized, measured at 48 parts per million. She was creating fertility faster than chemicals could provide it, using garbage. Number 3, the heat generation secret. Here's what the soil industry never mentions. Decomposition generates heat, massive amounts of it, and that heat can be controlled precisely to extend your growing season without any external energy. Margaret Ellis's layered bed wasn't just building soil, it was building a biological furnace. As bacteria decomposed organic matter in the lower layers, they released energy. That energy became heat. The temperature in her bed, measured 3 inches below the surface, stayed 8 to 12 degrees warmer than ambient air. In early spring, when air temperature barely reached 45 degrees, her soil was already at 57 degrees, warm enough for germination. She planted lettuce on March 15th. Her neighbor, waiting for soil to warm naturally, planted April 7th. Margaret harvested lettuce April 23rd. Her neighbor's lettuce was still seedlings. That 3-week head start came from decomposition heat, free season extension using kitchen scraps. But the heat did something more valuable. It accelerated root development. Plants in warm soil develop root systems 30 to 40% faster than plants in cold soil. Bigger roots mean bigger plants mean bigger harvests. The layering technique created staggered decomposition. Surface layers decomposed first, releasing quick heat for early planting. Deeper layers were just beginning decomposition, providing sustained warmth through late spring. By the time surface heat declined, deeper layers had activated. This created continuous soil warmth from March through October. 7 months of growing season in a climate that naturally provided 5. Agricultural surveys from 1943 and 44 documented this consistently. Layered beds planted 2 to 3 weeks earlier than conventional beds. They harvested 2 to 3 weeks later, total season extension of 4 to 6 weeks from biological heat alone. Greenhouse manufacturers were selling structures costing hundreds of pounds to achieve identical season extension. Margaret Ellis was achieving it with vegetable peelings and dead leaves. After the war, that comparison became unacceptable. The method had to disappear. Number 4, the perfect nutrient timing. Chemical fertilizers dump nutrients all at once. Plants can't use everything immediately. Excess washes away, polluting groundwater. What remains often burns young roots. Margaret Ellis's layered bed released nutrients on a schedule that perfectly matched plant growth cycles. This was an accident. This was biology, working exactly as evolution designed it. Weeks 1 through 3, during germination, seeds needed minimal nutrients. The bed provided exactly that. Decomposition was just beginning. Nutrient availability stayed low, preventing seedling burn. Weeks 4 through 7 brought rapid vegetative growth. Plants needed increasing nitrogen for leaves and stems. Decomposition rate in the bed was accelerating during this exact period. Nitrogen compounds released at precisely the rate plants could utilize them. Testing showed nitrogen availability increasing from 20 parts per million in week 3 to 67 parts per million by week 7. That curve matched plant demand almost perfectly. Weeks 8 through 12 brought flowering and fruiting. Phosphorus and potassium became critical. The breakdown of kitchen scraps, phosphorus rich from fruit and vegetable matter, peaked during this exact window. Potassium from decomposing grass clippings became available simultaneously. The timing wasn't luck. The layering sequence created a chemical release schedule that matched plant biology. Late season, weeks 13 through 20, crops needed sustained moderate fertility. The bed entered steady state decomposition. Nutrient release stayed consistent but lower than peak periods. This prevented excessive nitrogen that causes poor flavor and reduced storage life. Margaret Ellis's harvest records showed this. Early lettuce grew quickly but stayed tender. Mid-season tomatoes developed intense flavor. Late-season carrots stored through winter without rotting. Each crop received exactly what it needed when it needed it. Chemical fertilizers can't replicate this. They provide spikes that often exceed plant needs. The layered bed released nutrients in quantities plants could use completely. Zero waste, perfect efficiency, no pollution, and it cost nothing. Number 5, The soil transformation timeline. Margaret Ellis built her bed in March. By August, something remarkable had happened. The bed had settled from 18 inches depth to 12 inches, but what remained wasn't trash. It was soil. Dark, crumbly, rich-smelling earth that held water like a sponge and drained perfectly. Soil that grew plants better than anything you could purchase. Here's what happened during those 5 months. The cardboard decomposed completely, leaving carbon structure and earthworm channels. The leaves broke down into humus, creating soil aggregates that held air and water simultaneously. The kitchen scraps transformed into stable organic matter that fed plants and soil organisms for years. The transformation wasn't gradual. It accelerated. The more organisms that colonized the bed, the faster decomposition proceeded. By month 3, the bed contained more beneficial bacteria than surrounding garden soil by a factor of 10. By month 5, fungal networks had spread throughout the entire bed, connecting plant roots and transferring nutrients. When Margaret harvested her last crops in October, she examined the soil. The cardboard had vanished. The leaves were unrecognizable. The kitchen scraps had completely disappeared. What remained was 6 inches of the richest soil she'd ever seen. She planted again the next spring. No new construction, no new materials, just seeds directly into soil that had been trash 8 months earlier. Second-year productivity exceeded first year by 42%. The soil had continued improving over winter as remaining organic matter finished decomposing. Third-year productivity exceeded second year by another 31%. The biology, now fully established, was functioning at peak efficiency. Nutrient cycling, disease suppression, water management, all operating perfectly. By year 5, Margaret's bed was producing nearly 4 times what conventional beds managed. Not because she kept adding materials, because she'd created a living system that regenerated itself. Soil companies couldn't allow people knowing this. One construction, permanent productivity, no recurring purchases. Their entire business model threatened by garbage and knowledge. Number 6, building your triple output. Bed today, Margaret Ellis's original documentation provides exact instructions. Not theory, not approximation. The precise method tested under wartime conditions and proven across thousands of gardens. Start with bed frame construction, 4 by 8 feet, 12 to 18 inches deep. Untreated lumber or stacked stones, place it in full sun, no bottom. The bed sits directly on ground. Layer 1 is cardboard, flatten boxes completely. Cover the entire bed bottom, overlapping pieces by 4 to 6 inches minimum. No gaps anywhere. Soak thoroughly until saturated. Layer 2 is 6 inches of brown material. Dried leaves, shredded paper, straw, aged wood chips. This provides carbon and structure, water as you build. Layer 3 is 2 inches of green material, kitchen scraps, grass clippings, fresh plant trimmings. No meat, no dairy, no oils. Cover with a thin dusting of garden soil. Layer 4 is 4 inches of brown material again. Layer 5 is 2 inches of green material. Dust with soil. Repeat until the bed is filled to within 2 inches of top. The final layer must be 3 inches of quality garden soil or finished compost. This is where seeds germinate. The total construction takes 2 to 3 hours. The cost is 0 if you've been saving materials. Plant immediately. Don't wait. The topsoil layer provides clean space for seeds. Within 48 hours, decomposition begins. Within a week, heat generation starts. Within 2 weeks, nutrient release accelerates. First year productivity will exceed any conventional bed. By year 2, after materials have decomposed completely, you'll have the richest soil you've ever grown in. And you never bought one bag. They didn't survive by buying soil. They didn't depend on bagged compost or bottled fertilizers. And they didn't accept the lie that productive gardens required purchasing materials from corporations. What they had was knowledge, understanding that soil isn't something you buy. It's something you build from organic matter decomposing in the presence of living organisms. Margaret Ellis proved it. 214 pounds of vegetables from trash. Her neighbor, using purchased materials, grew 71 pounds. The difference wasn't luck. It was method. For 80 years, soil companies have been selling you what Margaret Ellis made from garbage, topsoil, compost, amendments, fertilizers, thousands of dollars worth of products that you could create yourself using materials you're throwing away right now. They needed you to forget. They needed you dependent. They needed you believing that dirt comes in bags and fertility requires purchases. But the documentation survived. The yield records, the construction details, the proof that layered organic waste outperforms purchased soil 3 to 1. The Margaret Ellis records exist in British agricultural archives, public documents that almost nobody knows about, her weekly measurements, her harvest totals, her construction diagrams, all of it proving what soil companies spent decades suppressing. Knowledge that eliminates recurring purchases, threatens recurring profits. That's why they buried it, not through dramatic bans, through quiet erasure. Stop teaching it in schools, stop publishing it in magazines, stop mentioning it anywhere. Within 20 years, new generations believe soil came in bags. But knowledge wants to survive. wisdom finds ways to persist. The next time store shelves empty, the next time prices spike, two kinds of gardeners will exist: those who wait for someone to save them, and those who already know how to build soil from trash. If you believe this knowledge is worth preserving, if you want independence instead of dependency, subscribe now. Hit that notification bell. Because we're uncovering everything they buried. Every method, every technique, every secret that threatens corporate profits. Share this video with everyone you know. Send it to a friend. Post it everywhere. Because every person who learns this truth is one more person who can't be controlled. Every garden that stops buying soil is one more victory. Every family that becomes self-reliant is one more crack in the wall they've built around this knowledge. This is how we take our power back. Not through politics, not through protests, through action. Through knowledge. Through the simple act of building soil from materials we were throwing away. One raised bed at a time, one layer at a time, one harvest at a time. The soil company spent 80 years trying to bury this. We're going to spend the next 80 years making sure everyone knows. I'll see you in the next video where we uncover another World War II secret they erased from history. Another method that works forever. Another technique that makes you free. Because the truth is still here. The method still works. And the trash you're throwing away is worth more than anything they're selling.